welcome back.
Hello, welcome back to
One hit,
High Points, and this is Kareem.
and it's Travis.
So, I think came up with the topic today, and what's that?
I think technology. How does it work? Not how does it work. We're not going into that conversation.
Oh, tune out now.
Tune out now.
Oh man, so
Sit back, welcome. Enjoy this life learning lesson of technology. It's a 3-hour course. No, I'm joking. It's not. But more like technology, the good, the bad, the ugly. I think that there's some of it is it's a big debate. I think
it is a big debate, and I think it is because there are people like me where I am not really a technological person. I don't really, know much other than the basic things that you can learn from just having a phone or like an iPad or a desktop computer, like those things that you learn over time, sure. But
technology has changed significantly over time. At
I
least
know,
even within our lifetime.
but for the more convenient way, for like the kind of for the average dummy of technology, I feel like now it's becoming a little bit more accessible and usable and learnable.
Learnable.
Learnable. I knew as I was about to say that it was not a real word, but that's who I am. So I'm not real, I'm not even I'm a ghost.
Yeah. I like technology. I've always been fascinated with it. It was something that, even as a kid, I liked, I don't even know where it really started. I think it was actually, yes, I do. It was actually within church. When we were going with my parents and like they needed someone to help like run some sound and like some video, and I think that was some of my first exposure as far as like making sure, things are together. But even before that, I was always tinkering around with something.
Well, I mean, I feel like I was the opposite in the way I always liked being outside and like kind of like
Oh, I definitely had my
feeling
share time of outside, time also, but
I liked feeling like I was like an archaeologist or like a little like discovery man. I liked the idea of just kind of exploring, and it was always just like really fun. And then, I had my BB guns and little stuff like that. Every time I was also like a little Resident Evil character, which was like always funny. And there was like
yeah.
zombies everywhere. I had a really crazy
Awesome,
imagination.
crazy outside adventures. I had a wonderful imagination. I kind of think I still do in some
I think
aspects.
technology is killing that though a little bit. I think it's making people less like self-inspired. I think people are more inspired
Th-
by the hyper
There's
like
that level of, free thoughts going away.
there's just a lot of material. There's lots of content out there that I think people are kind of being shoved down their throats, right? There's so many streaming platforms and shows and stuff like that. Everyone's constantly talking about a new show and a new movie or whatever. And I feel like sometimes I'm so out of the loop, but because things are so hyper accessible through new, developments in technology, what we just witnessed with like Apple, what they announced today, what's coming in September. I have some friends sometimes they say they're going to switch to Android all the time and Samsung or whatever, and they're just because I feel like the last few years of Apple have not been anything substantial to kind of keep.
Well, it's kind of funny because there's more people switching from Android to Apple.
Well, from people I know, people they like younger crowd, they feel like they can do more with that kind of phone. There's more, things that they can do. I don't know, with I guess apps and programs and
From my side, there's nothing my iPhone can't do that I don't want it to do.
well, I mean, I'm on the side of I don't really know much about anything.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like the see this is the kind of episode I could admit that I don't know anything or I don't know much is what I should say, and I'm open to learning because this is a topic I think is more involved around something you're passionate about. So from here on out, you educate me.
Yeah. Education.
Mm-hmm.
Bluntly technologically. um, No, it's like Android's Android. It's open source. It's free. You can tweak it. You can customize it. But I think the bigger fear of all of that is that if things is open, or like if something that has an open system, it's more prone to issues. Like stability or even privacy or even like security, those type of things. So very customizable. But with more freedom comes less protection. Is essentially is how that is, and I think that's the battle that we're going to face as we move through the world. Is we want these protections to make sure we want the privacy. Well, we want the protection so
Excuse
like
me.
bank accounts and those things, and like life is not hacked. But at the same time, with more protection, you lose your freedom.
Well, that's kind of where I wanted to actually talk because I want to know a little bit more about your perspective on this. I feel like a part of me wants to think if you were hiding something, then you obviously must, or if you feel like you're too scared to give up too much information or whatever, I kind of feel it's because you yourself are guilty of something. Like I have nothing to hide, so I really don't mind trading some of that kind of stuff. However, I think the way we see government control and all that kind of stuff, and we see how a lot of things are very trendy and trendy almost of giving up your rights. I feel like it's a trend to give up your rights, but they're being shrouded in these trends that are all about like acceptance and progressiveness. But I don't really see that sometimes. I see like there's an underlying theme of why did our government just slightly kind of change, or not slightly change, but kind of make an overnight change rather. And it seems slight to other people and like a hard work buildup of this, but it almost doesn't seem like it almost seems like really eerie that our government and these trends that are happening that are pushed by our government, if you really kind of like dissect these trends, it all seems.
Government's advancing the technology.
No, I kind of feel like in a way government can also utilize technologies that are also accessible to us, and
Sure.
those technologies that we use are giving them the information they need to then infiltrate our lives further and further and controlling us more and more by using certain trends and seeing what's popular and not. Like it all just seems intertwined in a way that is so beyond sinister, but that's just my other take.
No, but like take it a step back and even just like say from a work environment. Okay, so it's like emails are considered no different than a handwritten note. Like they could be held against you in a court of law.
Well,
And
one could be destroyed more easily, and one kind of stays in the digital world forever.
it's still, if you had both of them side by side, they're equal documents. Your digital signature.
Maybe the context of the document is equal in terms of meaning, but I think the actual file itself is.
Definitely destroy things
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
There is not a footprint, but from forget that piece of covering up stuff. You have to be cautious of
Mm.
things can be used against you in the wrong way, but especially if there's evidence of it, it's evident.
AI stuff now, like I think it's very scary. I think you could now have your voice being used and hacked through AI, bots, and that kind of stuff steals your likeliness, and now you're suddenly being blackmailed for something you didn't do. And I think this is kind of a scary place we're headed because
It goes back to that same question of privacy and protection.
everyone now can be a criminal based off of whatever the government or whatever these companies that have created these technologies in cahoots with the government. And I don't mean to sound like paranoid, or I'm saying this is fact. I'm saying this is like actual credible questions. Like these are questions that I think people should be asking, and they're healthy.
We have to understand, where do we draw the line? The world's becoming more advanced. We're making chip sizes smaller than we ever thought we were, and
And why are we burning our eyelashes when we're smoking like little joints? I mean, I don't know, but that just happens sometimes.
we need to get better lighters.
I did that last week, by the way. I burned my eyelashes. Second time I did it. Oof.
But no, it's I think we have to ask ourselves, is where's the future going, and how far is too far, if there is a too far, and I think maybe even older generations like our parents or even grandparents, they probably had the same questions in the 90s when, cell phones and all of that stuff was coming out. As then, I know my, parents were against all of it for the beginning, and then because they also couldn't relate to it. So are we the new generation that not is not able to relate to the new technology coming out?
Maybe, perhaps, and I think that's a good question. I also think too, you have to ask yourself if with certain technologies is technologies that are also attempting to play God. I mean, we've seen this with animals, and we hear rumors of even potentially people being cloned. And where does it now start to become a trend that we accept this, godlike science, and now people are being kind of cloned to horrific, intentions, right? Why? How do we know if people are not going to down the road be cloned when we have that technology that's actually out there and confirmed to people that we are able to do this?
And that's why I think, the point of like the podcast is we have to start discussing these things. We have to, come back to the middle of the ethics line, and,
Oh, 100%.
and like understand where are we going? Like, where's too far? Like, why should we be cloning animals? Like, At the same time, you could see some benefits of it. Like
Maybe repopulating a species that maybe we over, that we ourselves as humans killed off, and that now we may disrupt the ecosystem based off that. That's the only kind of benefit I can see. But I
well,
also have to
that
understand if that's also drawing the line in a way too, because what if now this new cloned species is not ever actually going to be what the other one was, and now it off balances
then it could be
everything.
like just like Jurassic Park. It's like, oh,
Oh
we
yeah,
bred
true.
them all as females, and all of a sudden, like Malcolm said, life finds a way. Like
Yeah.
like we have to ask that question on, just because we can do something, should we be doing it?
There you go. That's actually the greatest question I think of
You
all of
know,
this. That's one of the
props
best
to
questions.
Jurassic Park. That's from that
But
movie,
we're,
but
yeah, it's like that's so true. That's so
just
true.
because we can, create whatever we can, we have to ask the question, should we?
Why?
And is it within our capacity to be doing this? And,
Yeah. What's
it's,
the motive? What's the motive? And is it a motive that general humanity can agree upon? Because I don't feel that certain governments are allowed to make decisions based off of like bringing cloned animals or species or whatever that is without kind of a general consensus throughout humanity of whether or not it's something sustainable or logical to do for the longevity of Earth. Like I don't think I think that's why technology scares me because I always hold it back to some of these like HBO shows where, you know, they do clone like kind of canvases, like soulless canvases and like bodies that then they enter like souls or like chips of people's, of their, what's that called? Their psyche, their
Sure.
brains, and I don't
The
know,
other side of it is that I look at
creepy.
us as a species and compare us to other species, and we have this giant brain, and we know it's only using 30% of its power. So it's kind of like, are we set up to somewhat evolve as a species? And that's really what we're seeing at a
Have we seen
rapid
anybody's
rate.
brain powder pattern like capacity increase over the
I
years?
think that the knowledge that we retain and the knowledge and well, it has to be
We all
advanced,
have
but
an innate shared
it's
consciousness. I know that as an empathy species, as like a very you know, like a species that can feel like very, very like cerebral and cognitive and what's that word called? They kind of just said like, the squids and all those animals that have
it's cognitive.
it's cognitive, right? Yeah, like I think
You know,
we have that now, and or have acknowledged that now throughout a species, like throughout time. I mean,
but
as a species, we're getting more information
mhm.
naturally being brought to children without actually really having to teach in detail. Like I think kids are just getting things at a faster rate.
Well, there's, case in point, you give a little child a cell phone, they instantly know that they swipe up and move things. Like things are
Yeah,
becoming intuitive. I think that's actually at some point, the human mind is actually growing,
it's all intertwined.
and it's like things like that are being passed down.
We're all connected to, I think, to one hard drive as a species. I really do. I have this feeling that like every time that when you pass a human being in some weird way, you're connecting spiritual cords and weird
Hmm.
connections, and we're just so sentinel. That's the word I was trying to look for. We're so sentinel as a species, and I think we have the beautiful ability to feel things in a way that I don't think technology can ever recreate, and I think that's the soul. You can't recreate a soul.
Yeah,
And I think, and
feelings.
that's the scary thing. It's that yes, we've created robots now, right? We've created artificial emotions. We've created, you know, um, fake muscle reactions and stuff like that, right? But you can never really create a soul. And I think that's kind of where humanity doesn't stop. It's like you said, if we are able to do something, then why? Like, what's the purpose of it? And if we aren't, are we gonna deny something that we don't understand? Or are we gonna
Hmm.
deny something or even make a decision on something that is not yet confirmed? So it's almost in a way why I always trace it back to, well, I won't talk about it actually because I think this is a good point for another episode, but remind me about why I always say it makes sometimes no sense to deny something, because if you deny something and act as if that's fact, then you must be all knowing to know that that's not real. And if you're not all knowing, which you're not, you can't make statements that are as of fact. And I'm not going to say exactly what I'm relating to that, what that this subject's about, but in a future episode, I would love to.
Yeah.
In this world, in this time, in this episode, I think personally technology will be our own doom. I've watched Terminator 1 and 2, and I'm pretty sure something similar like that is going to happen, and not because humans lost control, but because humans purposely eradicated of the vast majority of humanity only to then control those very, you know, robotic freaking, I don't know, violent robots. to come after us. I feel like I think that they're gonna have control of it. I don't think humans are really gonna lose control over it. I think they know enough.
So it goes back to the question, just because we can, should we be doing it? And that goes with any technologically,
Or any sugar cookies that you may see at night out because someone decided to buy them and it's really selfish.
just because I can have another joint, should I have another joint? And the
Right.
answer to that is almost always yes.
Yeah, I always feel like same, but every now and
You know,
then those spins are not worth it. But I will say this right now, just to kind of wrap up this topic, whether or not you feel as though consuming any technology is kind of giving up, your rights or your privacy or whatever, just know that I think it any type of technology used, whether it's for work or whatever, like you're going to be giving up some privacy. You have to make yourself. You have to make the decision. You know, am I not ask yourself inwardly, are you not living like the best life? Are you not proud of a life you're living? Are you hiding something? Do you feel dark thoughts? Do you feel these things? If those kind of things ask you those questions, then maybe you need to like reevaluate how you feel and what you're fearing to give up.
mhm,
That's something that I always said to myself. And right now, currently, I don't really care. If you want my nudes, I have some bomb nudes. And it's only because I have a lot of body art because I have a lot of tattoos and I really like to photograph it. So you'd get some artsy ass nudes. But other than that, I think my FBI agent is probably watching me. He's always like, yeah, he's chill. He cries a lot.
mhm,
I support him, but I'm a fan, But for the most part, I have nothing to hide. And the other thing is, hey, listen, if the government's gonna eventually take over and use whatever technologies they want to frame me, whatever, I would not be someone that can make a difference unless everyone was willing to change and to be open minded and has and have a more based ideology. And then we can all have a conversation peacefully about what to do and what movement to make in terms of getting our
yeah,
privacy back. So sorry that was long winded as hell. I'm I just found my passion in this because of the question. You kind of ignited it in me.
yeah. All right. Well, that was our technology discussion. So,
Yeah, that was our bluntly spoken technology.
mm, all right. So, thanks for tuning in. Once again, this is
Oops.
One Hit High Points, and go find us on Instagram.
But find us
See
on
whatever.
Instagram. Yeah, follow us on Instagram. We'll have like updates to episodes and like certain things when we ever have a guest over because we want to start having more guests to kind of break up the dynamic here a little bit, to kind of see, what
Yeah.
a third party
And
point of view would be.
so, and also check out Spotify. Check out Apple Podcasts. Go see us there, and we'll see you next time.
Have a good
All right.
night, guys.
Bye bye.
Stay elevated.